When the world becomes quiet and the noise of life slowly fades away, there is one truth that keeps echoing inside my heart, a truth I can no longer keep hidden. For a long time, these words have lived silently within me, waiting for the right moment to finally be spoken. Every heartbeat carries your name. Every thought somehow finds its way back to you. And today, I can't keep it inside anymore. My love, there are things the heart refuses to hide forever. Feelings grow stronger with time, and silence begins to feel heavier than words. So tonight, I stand here with honesty in my voice and courage in my voice and courage in my heart. Because some emotions are too real to remain unspoken, and some people are too important to never hear the truth. My love, I must tell you something. There are moments in life when silence becomes heavier than words. Moments when you walk through the day smiling, speaking, laughing like everything is normal, but inside your chest, there is a quiet storm that never really stops. I have carried that kind of silence for a long time. Not because I didn't have the words, but because some feelings are so real that speaking them feels almost frightening. When something truly matters, you become careful with it. You become careful with it. You guard it like a fragile light in the darkness. Every day I tried to convince myself that maybe these thoughts would fade away, that maybe time would turn them into something smaller, something easier to ignore. But feelings that are real don't disappear. They grow quietly. They settle deeper in your heart, like roots finding their way through the soil. There were nights when the world was asleep, when the streets were quiet, and the sky felt endless above me. In those moments, when nothing distracted my mind, I realized something simple but powerful. Every thought somehow returned to you. No matter how far my mind tried to wander, it always found its way back to the same place, back to your voice, back to your smile, back to the way your presence somehow makes ordinary moments feel different. It's strange how one person can change the atmosphere of your life without even trying. You walk into a room, and suddenly the world feels a little warmer, a little calmer, like the chaos of life pauses for just a second. I never expected that feeling. Life teaches you to move forward, to focus on responsibilities, on survival, on becoming stronger after every disappointment. You learn to build walls without even noticing. You learn to protect yourself from things that might hurt. And then one day, someone appears, and those walls don't feel as strong as they once were. Not because they forced their way in, but because their presence makes you realize that maybe you don't need those walls as much as you thought. I tried to ignore that realization at first. So I told myself that life is complicated enough, that emotions only make things harder. I told myself that silence is safer than honesty. But silence has a way of growing louder over time. You start noticing small things you never noticed before. The way your mood changes when you hear their name. The way a simple message from them can turn a heavy day into something lighter. The way their happiness somehow matters to you more than your own comfort. These are the quiet signs the heart gives you, signs that something real is happening. And the truth is, I didn't plan for any of this. None of us really plans for the moments that change us. They just arrive quietly, like the sunrise you didn't notice until the sky is already glowing. You came into my life like that, not with noise, not with promises, just with a presence that slowly began to mean more than I could explain. There were moments when I caught myself smiling for no reason, and it took me a few seconds to realize why. Moments when the world felt heavy, but the thought of you somehow made it lighter. And that's when I understood something important. Some people don't just enter your life, they become part of your peace. I carried that understanding quietly. I held it close to my chest, like something valuable that I wasn't ready to show the world. Because once you say something out loud, it becomes real in a different way. Words have power, they change things. And I knew that the moment I spoke these words, the silence I had lived in would disappear forever. So I waited. Not because the feeling wasn't strong enough, but because I wanted to be sure that it wasn't just a passing emotion. I wanted to know that this was something deeper than a moment, something stronger than loneliness, something more honest than a temporary spark. As time gave me that answer, day after day, the feeling remained. Not dramatic, not chaotic, but steady, calm, real. like a quiet fire that refuses to go out. And the more I tried to understand it, the more I realized that what I was feeling wasn't something I needed to hide. It wasn't something to be afraid of. It was something worth telling. But telling the truth about your heart takes courage. Because the moment you open that door, you allow another person to see the most honest part of you. No masks, no defenses, just the truth. And that kind of honesty can feel terrifying. Because what if the world changes after you speak? What if the silence you lived in was easier than the reality that follows? What if the heart you reveal doesn't receive the same understanding in return? These questions stayed with me for a long time. They walked beside me in quiet moments, reminding me how vulnerable truth can be. But there is another truth that slowly became stronger than those fears. Living with unspoken feelings creates its own kind of weight, a quiet pressure that grows heavier every day you choose silence instead of honesty. And eventually you reach a moment where the heart simply refuses to stay quiet anymore. A moment when you realize that some words deserve to exist in the open air instead of hiding inside your chest. A moment when courage becomes easier than silence. That moment is now, because there are things I have carried inside for too long. Things my heart has been trying to say in a thousand quiet ways, and today, those words refuse to stay hidden any longer. There are people who pass through our lives like passing seasons. They arrive, they stay for a moment, and then they slowly disappear into memories. But sometimes, very rarely, someone enters your life, and the world begins to feel different in ways you cannot immediately explain. Before you, my days followed a simple rhythm. Wake up, move through the hours, finish the responsibilities, and wait for the next day to begin again. Life was steady, predictable, and quiet. There was nothing wrong with it, but there was also something missing that I could never quite name. I thought that was just how life worked. You learn to accept the ordinary. You stop expecting anything extraordinary. You tell yourself that peace means routine, and that routine is enough. And then you appeared, not like a storm that shakes everything at once, but like a gentle light that slowly fills a dark room. At first, the change was almost invisible, a small shift in the way I looked at the day, a quiet sense that something felt lighter. I began to notice the little things again, the warmth of the morning sun, the calm silence of the night sky, the strange beauty hidden in ordinary moments, and somehow, every one of those moments began to remind me of you. I play. Every one of those moments began to remind me of you. Play. Of course, it's strange how one person can reshape the way you see the world without even trying. Gee, you didn't ask for that role. You didn't demand attention or create chaos. You simply existed, and your presence quietly changed the atmosphere around me. When you spoke, there was something genuine in your voice. Not perfect, not rehearsed, but real. And in a world where so many people hide behind masks, that kind of honesty feels rare. Your laughter carried something pure, not the kind of laughter people use to impress others, but the kind that escapes naturally, like sunlight breaking through clouds. I began to realize that moments spent near you felt different from all the other moments in my day. Time moved in a strange way. Sometimes it slowed down, allowing me to notice every detail. Sometimes it moved too quickly, leaving me wishing for just a few minutes more. And slowly, without announcing itself, something began to grow inside my heart. At first, I tried to treat it like a simple admiration. After all, it's normal to appreciate someone's kindness, someone's presence, someone's way of seeing the world. But admiration has limits. What I felt kept growing beyond those limits. It appeared in quiet moments when I wasn't expecting it, when I saw something beautiful and immediately wished you were there to see it too, when I heard a song and wondered if it would make you smile the same way it made me smile. It appeared in concern, the kind of concern that makes you wonder if someone reached home safely, if their day was heavy, if they are carrying worries they never speak about. And that's when I understood something important. And that's when I understood something important. That you were no longer just a person I knew. You had become a part of the way I experienced the world. Your happiness began to matter to me more than I ever expected. When you were happy, the day felt brighter. When you were quiet or distant, Something inside me felt unsettled. I tried to explain this feeling to myself many times. I told myself that maybe it was temporary, maybe it was simply the excitement of meeting someone new, maybe it would fade with time. But the opposite happened. Instead of fading, the feeling became calmer, deeper, more certain, like a river slowly carving its path through stone. Your presence began to inspire things in me that I hadn't felt for a long time. A desire to become better, a quiet motivation to grow into someone worthy of the peace you bring into my life. Because when someone truly changes your world, they don't just bring happiness. They bring reflection. They make you look at yourself honestly. They make you ask questions you were avoiding. Am I the kind of person who deserves this connection? Am I strong enough to protect something this meaningful? Am I brave enough to be honest about what I feel? These questions stayed with me. But along with those questions came gratitude. Gratitude for the way you unknowingly shifted the direction of my thoughts. Gratitude for the calm strength you carry. Gratitude for the quiet way you remind me that life still holds beauty, even after disappointment. To change my life. You didn't promise to change my life. You didn't try to become important. And maybe that's exactly why it happened. Because the most powerful changes in life rarely arrive with loud announcements. They happen slowly, quietly, until one day you look back and realize the world you live in now feels different from the one you knew before. That is what you did to my world. You turned ordinary days into something worth noticing. You reminded my heart how to feel warmth again. You made silence feel peaceful instead of empty. And without even realizing it, you became the reason many of my quiet thoughts now carry hope instead of loneliness. That kind of change is not small. It is not temporary. It is something that reshapes the way a person walks through life, the way they look toward the future, read, the way they understand what truly matters in this complicated world. And somewhere along that quiet transformation, I realized that the story of my days had slowly begun to include you in every chapter, not as a distant character, but as someone whose presence had already become part of the rhythm of my heart. There comes a moment in every honest heart when hiding the truth becomes impossible. Not because the truth is loud, but because it is steady. It stays. It waits patiently while you try to distract yourself with other thoughts, other responsibilities, other explanations. But the truth has a quiet strength. It does not rush you. It does not force you, yet it refuses to disappear. For a long time, I tried to live beside that truth, without speaking it. I carried it like a secret written somewhere deep inside my chest. I convinced myself that maybe it was better that way. Sometimes silence feels safer than honesty. Silence protects you from rejection, from misunderstanding, from the possibility that the world might shift in ways you cannot control. But silence also creates distance, not just between two people, but between a person and their own heart. Every day I felt that distance growing smaller, as if the truth inside me was slowly walking closer to the surface. But I would notice it in the smallest moments. When someone mentioned your name, and my attention immediately sharpened. When I caught myself wondering how your day was going, even in the middle of my own busy hours. When a simple memory of your voice suddenly appeared in my mind and made the world pause for a second. These were not dramatic signs. They were quiet, ordinary moments. But together they formed something undeniable. They formed a truth. And the truth is that some connections cannot remain hidden forever. They demand honesty, not because they are impatient, but because they are real. Real feelings have a certain weight to them. They sit in your heart and slowly reshape the way you think, the way you see people, the way you understand yourself. At first, I questioned it many times. I asked myself if I was imagining something that didn't truly exist. I asked myself if I was simply searching for meaning in ordinary kindness. But time has a way of revealing what is genuine. If something is temporary, it fades when life becomes complicated. If something is shallow, it disappears when distractions appear. What I felt never faded. It remained through quiet days and difficult ones, through moments when life felt simple, and moments when everything felt simple, and moments when everything felt uncertain. It remained like a quiet promise my heart was making without asking permission. And that realization brought me to a crossroads. Because once you understand the truth inside your heart, you have only two choices. You can hide it, or you can honor it. Hiding it would have been easier. I could continue living the same way, carrying these thoughts silently, while pretending that nothing had changed. The world would continue moving exactly as it always had, but there would always be something unfinished inside me, something waiting, something unsaid. Honoring it, however, required courage. Because speaking the truth means accepting whatever follows. Because speaking the truth means accepting whatever follows. It means allowing another person to see the most honest part of you without knowing how they will respond. That vulnerability is one of the most powerful experiences a human being can face. It strips away pride. It removes the comfort of control. It leaves you standing with nothing but sincerity. And yet, despite the fear that comes with that vulnerability, there is also something incredibly peaceful about it. Because when you speak the truth, you stop fighting your own heart, you stop pretending, you stop carrying a secret that was never meant to stay hidden. I realized that honesty is not just about telling someone how you feel, it is about respecting the emotions that grew naturally inside you. Ignoring them would have been a form of betrayal to my own heart. So I began to understand something simple but powerful. The truth is not something we should fear. The truth is something we should respect. And the truth inside my heart has become very clear. It is not built from fantasy or sudden excitement. It is built from quiet observation, from shared moments, from the steady way your presence has slowly become meaningful in my life. It is built from the way my mind returns to you, even when I try to focus on other things. It is built from the calm happiness I feel when you are near, and from the strange emptiness I notice when you are far away. These are the signals the heart sends when it recognizes something real, not something temporary, not something convenient, something real. For a long time, I allowed those signals to remain silent. I watched them appear and disappear like waves touching the shore. But now the tide has reached a point where it cannot retreat again. The truth has grown stronger than my hesitation, stronger than my doubts, stronger than the quiet fear that once kept my words locked inside. Because some feelings deserve to exist in the open world. They deserve air, honesty, and the courage of being spoken aloud. And the truth my heart has carried for so long is simple, clear, for so long is simple, clear, for so long is simple, clear, and impossible to ignore any longer. You have become more important to me than I ever expected. Your presence has become something my heart quietly searches for in every ordinary day. Your voice has become something my thoughts return to when the world becomes quiet. And the truth that has waited patiently inside me is no longer willing to remain unspoken.